Hello, I'd like to identify myself. My name's Perry Lafferty, and I'm in charge of programs for CBS out here on the West Coast. Today, it's my very pleasant duty to introduce you to a young man who will be starring in a show that will go on in January, a show that we've all been working on for a long time, working very hard. It's a serious business, creating a new show, and I think perhaps we'd do best to ask him to come out here and discuss it with us. Here is Tim Conway. The other way, Tim. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. First of all, I would...
Would you like to pull up a chair and sit down? Perhaps you'd be more at ease.
Right.
Very good. That chair over there. Just bring it right over here. You comfortable now?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to express my thanks to CBS and the affiliates for allowing me to be accepted into...
That's very good.
And
Also,
sorry.
This is a serious business now. These people who are watching us want to know what the show is about, how it works, what time it'll be on. I think if we go about things in an orderly manner, it will be better. Now, first, you must tell them what the concept of the show is. What is the show about?
Well, Lair, we've, as you've explained, have been working for some time on the concept of the show. And granted, we don't have film on it, so there's nothing we can really show. So I think it's best that at this time we explain the concept of the show to them.
Fine. Would you like me to do that, or would you like to do that?
No, I could handle that, perhaps, being closer to the show.
It's called the Tim Conway Show.
Yes, it is. And in the concept,
what's it about?
It's about a half an hour, Perry.
About a half an hour.
We have the initial show itself is about two guys.
Who's the other guy?
Well, we'll get to that in the cast.
Oh, all right. What's the concept of the show?
The concept of the show, I think, Perry, should be explained at this point. It's about two guys who, oddly enough, buy an old airplane and start their own airlines.
Yes.
It, at this point, might seem like a bomb. However, when you take into consideration some of the other surrounding funny factors to this particular show, perhaps you'll see some of the humor in it.
It's a program about two fellows who buy an old airplane and start their own airline somewhere in California outside of Los Angeles.
That's true.
That's true. Well, that's the concept.
Other funny facets to the thing, and there are several people in it who are surrounding other funny characters who lend levity to the show. And
could we move over to the cast?
To the cast, perhaps, would be a good area to move into. I'm real happy to have working with me again a gentleman who was so successful in a series we did some time ago, as you recall, McHale's Navy.
Yeah.
A gentleman called...
Would you like me to help you? Joe
Flynn.
Flynn.
Joe Flynn, who I had admired for some time and have worked for some time to get into a show with me again. And now, just riding on the success of that turkey, we have again established ourselves here at CBS to again bring comedy to the screen in the fast-moving entertainment way that we do.
At the risk of offending, would you care to discuss your relationship, you and Mr. Flynn, so perhaps the ladies and gentlemen watching this would understand from whence the comedy springs?
Certainly. The relationship is a little personal. However, what you'll see on the screen, I think, is another facet to the show. Joe will be the president of the airlines, and I will be the pilot.
You'll be the pilot?
Yes.
That's
the
funny.
Comedy. The hell do you know about it? The comedy doesn't necessarily come from the plane. We're trying to avoid that because we don't want to get stuck by just people thinking that we're a couple of dumb pilots. that the comedy doesn't come from that. The comedy actually comes from the two of us.
Well, that certainly explains that.
I think so.
Now, who are the other characters?
Other cast characters.
Yes.
We've done some unusual things here, Lair, in that we've prepared.
Yes.
In that we've taken some people who you might think as serious actors. However, we've taken a lady, Ann Seymour, who is a well-established serious actress, and placed her in a comedy role, which has really turned out to be a bomb in that area. But we also have some other funny people in John Collins III and Fabian Dean, whom we all have no idea.
It would be helpful if you told us what parts they play.
Well, Fabian Dean runs the restaurant at the airport. He only has the 3 stools there, and one section, of course, is always closed. And he is kind of like a New York waiter who, if you order a cheese sandwich, will bring you the cheese first before you. It's real funny.
Now, what part does Ann Seymour play?
Ann is also another real funny character. She owns the airlines and is kind of the serious character.
The heavy?
The heavy.
The heavy
Yes.
in the feast, yes. All right, and there is a young lady, I know that.
Yes, an attractive young lady played by my wife.
Well, your wife.
At the moment. However, we're looking for another young lady, perhaps a more attractive lady.
What you're saying, then, is that you and Joe have this plane in this small airport outside of Los Angeles, and your subsidiary characters include a fellow who runs the restaurant in the airport, the lady who sort of owns everything, who as the heavy, and your girlfriend. That's essentially the running characters? All right, we'll move right along.
I'm sorry. Yes, it is.
We'll move right along to what some people might be wondering, having heard us so far. What kind of stories would you be doing on this show?
Well, we have several real funny. Before we go on, perhaps I could pass along a couple of other funny stories here just to lighten.
That don't have to do with the show?
Not necessarily.
Well, I think we should stick to the show.
Well, the first one is about a guy who's down, he runs a barber shop in Pennsylvania, see, and he's giving a haircut, and there's 2 chairs in there and 2 barbers. And a fella comes in, and the one barber looks at him, and he says, gee, I think I know him. So he takes a real good look at him. He says, Bob, kind of hold this guy here. I'm running down to the post office. So he runs down to the post office, and look, you know those wanted ads in the post office? Well, he goes up to the post office thing, and he looks at this one picture. Then he gets a pretty good picture of that in his mind, runs back to the barbershop, and looks at this guy again. Well, in looking at the guy again, he realizes that it isn't the guy who was in the poster that he had seen at the post office. Then there's this other one about a guy who is down in...
That's all? That's all, just that much?
Florida, who was passing through and got a ticket. And he asked if he could pay for it at the time, and they said, no, you'd have to come in on Tuesday. He said, well, I'm driving to Washington. Could I leave a check? So the judge said, well, okay, then make out a check. I thought you'd get a kick out of those. The stories in the show are basically kind of like that, just slices of life.
You're not helping us today.
Oh. Well, we've got some, of course, hijacking stories, which are real funny at this point. And there are some other stories which really are kind of, as we said, slices of life. They're really not the wild, humorous, funny, pie-throwing things that you might expect in the first show.
You wouldn't like to tell us just 1 or 2 lines of the story?
Well, one line in the one story would be, hi, Joe, and he says, hi, and then it goes on from there.
I see.
In comedy areas.
Well, I could say that I do know that Larry Gelbart has written several
Larry
of the
Gelbart
scripts.
has written several of the
You don't want to tell us about the stories.
And they're real good.
And Larry Marks has written some.
Some of the real heavy hitters in the writing area have been associated with the show.
And they are stories about you and Tim and your airplane and the troubles you have. Would you say that's a fair...
Joe and I'm Tim.
I beg your pardon.
These things happen, Larry.
You're pair.
Pair.
Yes.
Yes, there'll be really stories surrounding the airport in that particular area, not necessarily going out where it gets expensive, as you well know.
Yes, we've had some experience along
Most
that
of
line.
the stories will take place in one room.
In one room?
Yeah.
What room?
One camera, as the budget allows.
All right. Now, just to button up, tell us what time the show will go on the air.
It will be going on for you folks out there at,
I think it's going to go on at 8 o'clock Friday night.
Right, I knew that.
And I think it's going to be January the 30th.
Yes, and it will be preceded by Get Smart and followed by Hogan's Hero.
That's right.
Yes, I made that up.
There will be a good comedy block for CBS on Friday night.
Certainly will be. We're to it at our house.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have now some grasp of the Tim Conway Show.
I'll leave now. Excuse me.